Barakata Yahweh, Barakata Yahushai, Bayishim, Baraka Kodash, Barakatum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Bayishim, Yahushai. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone who rule and teach well. And peace and salutations to Ya'akim out there pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. This is the brother Raya with another video, and I'll be profiling this clip from RT America's YouTube channel titled Ahmaud Arbery was killed for running while black. And this is just another day in Babylon the Great, which is the biblical name for the United States of America, which is also known as spiritual Sodom and Egypt in the scriptures. You Jakes are never going to find peace in this country. The only time you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans are going to find peace or justice is when Yahushua HaMashiach, whom the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, returns to save the elect of his people and the kingdom of heaven is set up. Until then, shootings like this are going to continue and lead all the way up until a race war, which will be vicious, violent, and bloody, because these Edomites, or so-called white people, have a perpetual, never-ending hatred towards you Israelites, because we got the blessing and the birthright to the kingdom of heaven from them. This is Ezekiel chapter 35. I'm going to start at verse 1. Moreover, the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir, and prophesy against it. And Mount Seir was one of the ancient dwelling places of the Edomites. And just like Jerusalem is a people before it's a place, Mount Seir is a people before it's a place. And say unto it, Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, Behold, O Mount Seir, I am against thee, and I will stretch out mine hand against thee, and I will make thee most desolate, and I will lay thy cities waste, and thou shalt be desolate, and thou shalt know that I am Yahweh. And Yahweh Bayishim Yahushai is quickly bringing this judgment upon these Edomites. You can see that their economies globally are collapsing, their birth rates are declining, and eventually there's going to be race wars and civil wars in all the places where these Edomites dwell, famines, pestilences, martial law, and ultimately nuclear missiles hitting wherever these Edomites dwell. And the main place that's going to get that work is the United States of America, which is going to get hit by 200 million nuclear missiles, which is going to turn it into the biblical lake of fire from sea to shining sea, and then a desolate, uninhabitable wasteland afterwards. But the point I want to get to is in verse 5, because thou hast had a perpetual, never-ending hatred, and has shed the blood of Israel by the force of the sword. Perfect example today is what we'll be getting into with that clip. Ahmaud Arbery, Israelite of the tribe of Judah, or the so-called Negroes, getting killed by Esau's blessing, the sword, which is that gun, in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an end. And like I just said, these shootings are going to continue until it leads into a full-blown race war. This is Isaiah chapter 13. I'm going to read verse 13 through 16. Therefore, I will shake the heavens, and the earth shall remove out of her place in the wrath of Yahweh of hosts, in the day of his fierce anger. And it shall be as the chaste roe, and that chaste roe is referring to you Edomites, because while you Edomites are going to kill a lot of Jakes in that day, the Most High is going to put the spirit on these 2/3 to come after and take out you Edomites as well. Whether you're a gun-toting conservative Edomite, a chai latte drinking liberal Edomite, man, woman, child, it doesn't matter. And as a sheep that no man taketh up, they shall every man turn to his own people and flee every one into his own land. When this race war kicks off, it's not just going to be Jake and Esau fighting each other. It's going to be a free-for-all. These Moabites or so-called Chinese are going to be coming after you Edomites. You Edomites are going to be coming after them. These Ishmaelites or so-called Arabs are going to be coming after Jake. Jake's going to be coming after them, etc., etc. Everybody's going to be tribal in that day and return to their own people. But even in all that chaos, there's going to be one unifying factor. All these nations are going to want to get a piece of you Edomites for fucking them over in the past all the way up until today. That's why you're going to be known as that chaste roe. Everyone that is found shall be thrust through, and every one that is joined unto them shall fall by the sword. You're going to have to pick a side in that day. You're either going to return to your own people, or you're going to try and stay with your heathen spouse or Israelite spouse, or think that you've got good heathen or Jake friends and that they'll protect you in that day. But that's not going to be the case. Anybody that's found not with their own race is going to be put to death by the force of the sword. Their children also shall be dashed to pieces before their eyes. Their houses shall be spoiled and their wives ravished. And it's going to get nasty out here. That so-called good Edomite neighbor you've got that you've had barbecues with in that day is going to break into your house, put you to death, take your goods, kill your children, and ravish your wife. So to you sincere Israelites out there, right now, you should be doing the best you can to remove yourself from these Edomites. While you still have to deal with them on a business level, just leave it at that. Because if you're found with them in that day, hey, you're going to fall by that sword. Well, let's get back to this clip.
The outcry over the murder of an unarmed black man believed to be completely innocent is intensifying throughout the country. Now, the deadly encounter happened in February, but this week, cell phone video has surfaced reportedly showing that the man shot 3 times while jogging in a predominantly white neighborhood. RT's Natasha Sweet has more on the fatal shooting, and we want to warn you, some of the video you're about to watch is graphic. It's a sight no mother wants to see.
I saw my son come in the world, and seeing him leave the world, it's not something that I want to see ever.
Well, the authenticity of this video has not been verified by authorities. According to the attorney of Ahmaud Arbery's family, this is him getting shot 3 times.
Well, we see clearly in that video that there were 3 shots. 3 shotgun blasts, which goes towards the mindset of the shooter, that his intent was to kill Ahmaud Arbery.
Arbery's mother, Wanda Cooper, who has not watched the video, says her 25-year-old son was out exercising as he normally did.
I do believe that Ahmaud was just out for his daily jog. I have believed that since day one. He's been doing this for years.
The cell phone video,
as it says in the book of Lamentations, they hunt our steps.
Initially posted by a Brunswick radio station, shows a black man running on the left side of the road. A truck is parked ahead of him. The runner crosses the road, passing the pickup on the passenger side, then crosses back in front of the truck. Then the sound of gunfire ignites as the runner and man with the firearm are wrestling. After a second shot is made, the runner punches the man. Then a third shot is heard, and you can see the runner staggering before falling face down. According to a police report, the 2 men who reportedly shot Arbery, 64-year-old Gregory McMichael, and his son, 34-year-old Travis, said they armed themselves after seeing a man running who fit the description of someone involved in a local robbery. According to the report, McMichael said his son fired 2 shots. Gregory McMichael recently retired as...
That's how these Edomites look at you, Jake, as an animal to be put down and take trophies from. Back in Ezekiel 35, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword, that gun.
An investigator in the Brunswick District Attorney's Office, he also worked as a police officer for Glenn County. No arrest or charges have been made, but now...
And of course he was a cop. A lot of these cops, judges, and lawyers are secret KKK members. I did a video on my other page a couple of months ago on how one Jake was trying to show that Jake and Esau can come together, and he was talking about how he knew this one Edomite who let him have his uniform and KKK uniform to show in the documentary that he's in both organizations.
An outside prosecutor in charge of the case says he wants a grand jury to decide whether criminal charges are warranted, something Arbery's family attorney says is a huge relief.
We are all relieved that the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, as of last night, started an independent investigation. We are hopeful that that investigation will actually do a lot more than the original investigation to uncover the truth and lead to the arrest of these men.
But things won't move forward as fast as the Arbery family may want it to, as the coronavirus has left Georgia courts mostly closed until at least mid-June. For In Question, I'm Natasha Sweet, RT. And to talk more about this, I am joined by co-host of Watching the Hawks, Amisha Cross. Amisha, we've had some new revelations in this case. We were talking just moments ago of TMZ releasing the police call as well.
Absolutely. So just a couple of hours ago, TMZ actually publicly released the police call, the 911 call that was made by the father and son, reporting the fact that they saw a black man running. And that's literally what they reported. They were asked from the dispatcher what the crime was, what was mysterious, things like that. They were asked 3 specific questions, of which they never responded to any question. And you can hear them talking about how they were going to chase him. You can hear them basically loading guns and driving off. So I think that there's a lot to be said there as well. First of all, they couldn't identify a specific crime. They couldn't identify why they were going after this man or why the call was even made to the police.
Mm-hmm. Now, Amisha, this obviously has sparked anger from Arbery's community, many coming out in protest, demanding justice for this 26-year-old man who was out for a jog. But they're also saying that this is nothing new. And again, as we were talking just before this happened in February. And, at first you think, okay, this is coming out from the investigation. No, this just started an investigation.
Absolutely. So my biggest frustration here, and I think that of most civil rights advocates and leaders right now and his family, is that this incident happened on February the 25th. So the argument that the state has at this point is that they cannot call a grand jury because of the coronavirus. Mm-hmm. My argument, and the argument that many attorneys have, is that this started February the 25th. You didn't reach for a grand jury then. You didn't reach to call this an actual murder or what it was. You literally took the word of 2 men who had just murdered someone and came to the police and admitted what they did, that someone was dead. You can't have the word of the dead person, and no one else was there. So you're listening solely to 2 murderers, and you don't feel it necessary to lock these guys up. They have been walking free for the past 3 months.
And there might be a reason to that. One of the things is you had mentioned that there's been a shift as far as who is actually going to take over the case. We're now looking at our 3rd DA now?
3 DAs. 2 DAs had to recuse themselves because of their relationship with the father in question who fired the weapon. So just so that everyone knows, the father is someone who served in law enforcement for that county. This is another reason why this issue and why this case is going to be very sticky, because he has a relationship with law enforcement, a long-standing one, and he feels as though, these are his friends. And we know in cases where police officers are chummy and they're friends with each other, and you've been a part of that code of blue, it is very hard for them to see beyond that code.
Mm-hmm. Now, one of the things that the men are arguing is that they are using Georgia's citizens arrest law, which requires that the offender must have committed a crime in the presence of another person, or that the person must have immediate knowledge of a crime that has taken place by the perpetrator. The father and son, again, like you had mentioned, the father having ties here. Citizens arrest law is you had mentioned a lot of these states have this law, but is that seen here?
So the scary thing about citizens arrest laws is that in 35 states in this country, they exist on the books, which means that if someone is suspected of a crime, if you think someone committed a crime, you are allowed to go and commit a citizen's arrest against them. Thing here is that they called the police. Police didn't tell them to go forward or do anything, didn't answer any of the questions from the police, and went out and did it on their own. You or I, or I think any sensible person, if you see something and you think that there's a problem, yes, you might call the police, but you're not going to get in your car and chase them. In addition to that, they were demanding this man stop. If I am a black person, which clearly I am, and there are 2 angry white men in a pickup in the South chasing me, Lord knows I'm going to haul tail. I'm not about to stop. We know that historically, time and time again, this is how lynchings occur. And that's exactly what happened on February 25th.
And that they're actually calling cases like this, the modern day lynching. And it also is reported, too, that there wasn't just one call made from the father and son, that multiple people were calling saying that there's a black man in our neighborhood. I mean, down in the South, we know that there's roots of racism there, and it still exists to this day. But I mean, this is pretty shocking that it's just a guy running and all these calls are made.
That perpetual hatred.
My partner is with the ACLU of Georgia, so he is working very tirelessly on this case as well, and the NAACP is hosting a rally tomorrow. One of the things that is extremely frustrating is that this neighborhood, the neighborhood that he was shot in, is very similar to white communities across the country where everyone looks like everybody else. So you're automatically thought of as a suspect or a criminal if you walk in with black skin. I want to be clear, the reason that this young man is dead is not because he was jogging, it's because he was jogging while black.
while Israelite.
Yeah. And, it's going to be very interesting to see how this case plays out. Do you think that he will ever get justice for what happened?
Absolutely not. I think that the clock continues to tick, time continues to go away, and we're seeing more and more people, sadly, even on social media, ask what he did to actually die. They are trying to piece together something that makes sense to them as a reasoning why and a fault factor so that they can make the victims the guys who actually committed the crime. And I think that's what we see in these cases time and time again. I was hopeful that Trayvon Martin's murderer would actually get locked up. We saw that didn't happen. Another case of vigilante justice. I don't think it's going to happen here either.
All right. Well, we appreciate your input, Amisha, and we'll be
Micah 2:10, arise, for this is not your rest, because it shall destroy you. No justice or peace will be found in Babylon the Great, the United States of America, and these shootings are going to continue until a full-blown race war takes place. But as I said earlier in the video, while these Edomites are going to come after these Israelites, the Most High is going to put the spirit on these Jakes to come after these Edomites as well, especially the tribe of Judah. This is Genesis 49, verse 9. Judah, or the so-called Negroes, is a lion's whelp, or a young lion. And what does a young lion have? A lot of energy and a lot of strength, which you can clearly see with these Jakes out here. Just look at sports, or when these Jakes fight each other. From the prey, my son, thou art gone up. He stooped down, he couched as a lion, and as an old lion, who shall rouse him up? But as of late, Jake's been that old lion, broken and beaten down by Esau Edom's system. But when the time comes, Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai is going to rouse him up to come after Edomites and get their licks back. This is Isaiah chapter 19, verse 16 through 17. In that day shall Egypt be like unto women, you Edomites, who are the modern day spiritual Egyptians. Revelation 11, verse 8. And it shall be afraid and fear because of the shaking of the hand of Yahweh of hosts, which he shaketh over it. And the land of Judah, the so-called Negroes of the southern kingdom, shall be a terror unto Egypt. Judah is an old lion, who shall rouse him up? Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai putting the spirit on Judah to get their licks back on Esau. And we're seeing the beginning stages of it right now, with a lot of these Judites starting their own gun clubs, and especially these teenage Judites going around and breaking into people's cars, disregarding the cops, and just going completely buck wild out here. Everyone that maketh mention thereof shall be afraid in himself, because of the counsel of Yahweh of hosts, which he hath determined against it. So with this video, I hope you sincere Akim were edified. Just keep strong and keep pushing this word. We're almost out of this final wicked captivity of the heathens, chiefly Esau, Edom. And as always, I'm going to say Abad Babal, Kwam Yasharala, and until next time, Shalom.